Okay. Um, so this video will be, first of all, I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm Tempo, and I've been continuously top 10 to 20 world on the classes I've been playing, mostly healers. And I've recently been ranked 1 world Holy Paladin before I quit in Season 3 Dragonflight, and also almost 4k Ryo in Dragonflight Season 2 as well. Here we are we're going to talk about mostly Holy Paladin changes that are coming up. I'm also on the PTR, going to demonstrate some talents there and analyze some stuff. This will be on YouTube and on Twitch, on my VODs as well, mostly for the people watching me and want to get some information out of this. And this patch is soon. It's just in a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks-ish. So, it's not gonna be super long, and it's gonna be unedited and a little bit raw and rough, you know? Not gonna be finessed, so to say, but it's gonna be a good amount of information about mostly Holy Paladins, so to say, and other healers as well, and comparing them. So we're gonna start off with Holy Paladin here and talk a little bit about it. There's gonna be this website here, which is the data mined version of things, patch, class changes, patch 11.0.5. And these are like the data mined ones, and they're on Bobhead. And there's a bunch of class changes going on. This is like no small patch, yeah, this is like a kind of big patch actually, with the changes. It's coming out on the anniversary, I think. Then we also have the blue post, which is very similar to the Vovhead Datamine one, but there is some differences. And also the third source of information is going to be PTR, basically. Let's turn off the sound here, I guess. Let's see if we can get the Holy Paladin version here. On the Dotmind one. Okay. There we go. So these changes here, what you're seeing, is gonna affect Holy Paladin probably the most, but it is a class, like most of it, a lot of it is class 3 change, aka this here that you're seeing here on the left side. This is what they're changing like the most. Then they are going to change this as well. That is Avenging Brat, our wings. And they are going to change as well the Sanctified Brat. But this is a little bit of a question mark right now, because this says one thing, this says one thing, and this says one thing, and then this says one thing. So we'll see what Blizzard is gonna do about that. But that is like the wings change is, if they are changing the wings as it says here on Bobhead PTR, as you can see here, talent calculator for the PTR basically. If they're doing this change they are saying here, then I think Holy Paladin is gonna be insanely strong. That's all I can say. Because here it's gonna get like some fucking explosion damage and stuff like that when you're basically using Holy Power. abilities, you're gonna explode around you, dealing additional damage, and also causing your judgment to generate one additional holy power. I'm pretty sure this is something that Retri Paladin is doing. And I don't know if they want to implement this for Holy Paladin as well, but we are on the Holy Paladin version, not the Retri version. And also here on the data mined information, basically, if we can find it. Here. So this is supposedly going to be talents, and they are removing this bit here, which is 0, which is just like they're just normalizing. I think they're like from 0 to 20, 0 to 20, 0 to 20, 0 to, I don't know. It's apparently maybe all these spells didn't get affected by wings before, but now they are going to be affected by wings or something like that. Like I said, wings is a little bit of a question mark, but according to this, as you can see here, it's also the explosion damage and reducing holy shock additionally, and etc. etc. And it's avenging wrath. It's not sanctified wrath, because if you're talking about that a bit, like sanctified wrath is it's separate thing from awakened, right? Awakened is when you proc your judgment and you get wings for a bit of time, right? It's like a proc. And sanctified wrath is like another thing which is reducing your holy shocks and etc. etc. And first it looks like they're just combining all these into one thing, and that is wings. But it's a little bit of a question mark. Let's take first things first here. But this is very cool with the wings. For sure, super cool. If they make the wings like a full-on explosion thing for all classes, basically. I mean, for like Holy Red and Prot, like super strong wings, that's gonna be cool. Okay, first of all, when you pop your defensive, you will now be able to do it while stunned. So, for an example, I don't know if you all know the Arakara mob. Basically, I'm just giving an example. Basically, the Arakara mob, when it stuns you and you have some bats also additionally pulled with the big mob, the big boy before last boss, right? In the gauntlet. He can stun you, right? And also if your tank pulled some bats, then while you're stunned, you're like, let's say 20% HP, and then the bats come and they finish you off, right? While you're stunned. And you don't have bubble. Now you can use defensive while stunned and not die to the bats. I guess that's one thing. Or if you get casted from the mobs in Necrotic Wake and getting stunned, no one is kicking, or no one has any stop, and you're about to die, well, now you can use defensive while stunned. I guess it's nice. I would like them to increase this here, because I don't think Holy Paladin defensive is strong enough. What's so strong about Holy Paladin defensive, in my opinion, is that it's really short. It's 1 minute and then you can reduce it. So it's about 40 seconds or 42 or something like that. Then they are increasing aura damage and healing about like for some things. But this is also a little bit weird, because here it says that they're increasing it by 8%, right? As you can see here. But if we're going to analyze this further and compare, then when we see this, it's like, oh, they're buffing Vogue with 8%. And then we go into here, and we see that they're buffing Vogue with 5%. So how are we going to interpret this? Is it an 8% plus a 5%? Is this something that they just type in a blue post, and then this is like background fixes and background buffs? We know that they are buffing Blessing of Dawn. This was originally 30%. It went down, I think it went down to 15%. And they're buffing it additionally for Red Palace and Prot by 10%. We can see it somewhere here. Here we can see it. So here you can see Blessing of Dawn, 10% for Ret and Prot, and also 5% for Holy Paladins. That doesn't make too much sense also when you go in here and you hover over this, which is Blessing of Dusk and Dawn. What's good about this, in my opinion, is that it's 1 point. Many people think like, okay, like buffs and nerfs and blah, 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 and changes, okay? Like, oh, we're getting buffed by 5%. Oh, it's only 5%. But you don't think about a very, very important thing that you need to think about when it comes to how strong something is going to be relative to what it was. Okay, what is happening here with this? Yes, they're removing 1 point. We're basically getting a point for free that we can spend into some other stuff, because this talent here was 2 points. So now it's all in one thing, basically. Can we go into live maybe? Yeah. So here you can see that it's 2 points, right? And you have to click and spend 2 points, because we have a maximum amount of points we can spend, right? In order to increase our power. So if you only now had to click 1 time and spend 1 point, you have another point to spend in the talent tree, which also further increases your power, if you know what I mean. So these two combining into one, also getting buffed, is a double dip buff, in my opinion. Well, it is. So this is pretty cool that they're buffing that. Of Dusk and Dawn is basically like when you rotate your spells, blah, blah, you press Vogue, you press Holy Shock, you get this procced, you press Vogue, Holy Shock again, you get it procced, and you know, you're just using, like, it's inside your kit, it's inside your rotation already. You don't have to worry about it that much. You can also track it, obviously, but it's like inside your rotation. Then we have, I mean, this is the biggest thing about, like, this is like the top 2, top 3 biggest, like, insanely big things. It's a big buff, in my opinion. It's a super big buff. And that is the Selfless Healer talent that we're getting. This talent is fucking, this is insane. This is so good. Like, holy moly, dude. Just read this. Flash of Light and Holy Light are 30% more effective on allies. We stop there. 30% more effective on allies. Okay, that's already a 30% buff to Holy Light and to Flash Heal. Or Flash of Light. Right? And this is something you use frequently in your rotation if you're good. If you're good on Holy Paladin, you will be using Infusion of Light procs. Basically, you will Holy Shock, get Infusion of Light proc. Well, now it's like on PTR, and my Holy Paladin is a little scuffed, and I don't know what the fuck this is doing here, but basically using Infusion of Light proc, and you're casting a Holy Light, boom, and you're using the Infusion of Light proc, empowering your Holy Light. It's already really strong, and you're like playing like this, right? And Infusion of Light procs comes from critting with Holy Shock. And you have to play around them. You throw a Holy Light, or you can use it for Flash Heal as well. Flash of Light. Right? This is how you play Holy Paladin with Infusion of Light procs. And this is getting 30% stronger, just baseline on allies. When this is going on, the 30%, we haven't even talked about the second bit yet. The 30% will also go into beacons, which makes the beacon healing more as well, right? Anyone can understand this. This is very simple. So it's a 30% buff. More goes into beacon, which makes that also stronger. Then additionally, also if you have leech as well, obviously leech becomes stronger because you're healing other people, which means you as a healer will get more healed from leech, which will get more in later on in the season. Also, not only that, but also 40% of that healing done goes into healing yourself as well. Which is insane. That is crazy. That's like, you're gonna top the whole group. I'm feeling like the top, like one holy light, and everyone is like topped. Pretty much. If you're like playing with Beacon of Virtue, or even with Fate, I think. Even if you play with Fate, I think that it is insane. Depending on who you get. Imagine if you heal like the Holy Light, basically. Imagine if you have Beacon of Fate. Imagine if you have Beacon on like the Druid and the Mage, let's say, and the Rogue is taking damage. You have a Holy Light on the Rogue, which goes into the Beacon targets, which goes into you, and we will see if this healing, this 40% healing extra that splits into you from this talent, also goes additionally into the beacon targets. You understand? So this is not like a double dip. This is like probably like a triple dip or 40 dip, you know, quadra dip. So this talent in itself is omega strong. I don't know what they will do with this. They might even nerf it, because it is extremely strong. And this very specific talent alone, I think, is gonna make Holy Paladin really, 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 really strong. Okay? Because it's already also in our kit. Like, you are using Holy Lights, you are using Flash Heals. Mostly Holy Lights now, because they did buff how Infusion of Light proc now really, really juices up your Holy Lights, basically. You can also go, obviously, you could go into the more flash heal variant, which is this and this, the Moment of Compassion and Divine Revelations. You can go like this, you know, you can take Virtue or Fate. It's very situational. Some dungeons Fate, some dungeon Virtue, but Virtue is generally really strong in most dungeons. You could go the flash heal variant. It is completely fine. It's just, I think it is more APM, basically. You will more frequently and quicker and smoother proc your Infusion of Light procs. It could be very good to play the flash heal variant in a more stressed situation where you're not always able to cast a more longer cost time spell, which is Holy Light, right? When you maybe have to move a lot or something like that, you know, like now you have to heal, you're popping your Infusion Light, and you know, you can't really afford to cost the little bit longer Holy Light than a little bit shorter Flash Heal. It's a little bit more speedy playstyle, basically. But I'm fairly sure that Holy Light is basically healing for more. You could also like, it's a little bit min-max, but you could use the Flash Heal build and Flash Heal only inside Beacon. And then when you don't have Beacons up, you could Holy Light on the non-beacon situations, or if you're playing with fate instead of virtue, you could always prioritize holy lights into the non-beacon target and then flash heal into the beacon targets if you're playing the flash heal bit. Okay, let's see. So selfless healer is absolutely bonkers. That is super strong. Then they're also buffing judgment by a bit. This is about 10%. Well, it's a little bit more, but here it says 10%. Here. So once again, it's like the data mine version, the one of the blue posts, and we also have the PTR rights as the sources. So we'll see. They're also buffing righteousness by a bit. And I'm pretty sure they're double. I don't know if they're double buffing this, because here is like a buff and also here's like a buff somewhere. And then I'm pretty sure I saw additionally like just general buff for this somewhere here in general somewhere. Oh, here as well. So this is like general. This is not like any class specific thing, right? And here you can see that they're also additionally buffing it. Holy buffing it. So we'll see what they do with that. And also like the judgments as well. So once again, when it comes to the wings, it's a little bit like question mark here, right? Also because this says one thing, they're normalizing like the crit, they're making it general, but making crit by default. I don't know exactly what they mean with this, with the crit version. Like, it looks like that wings is basically, it didn't completely affect everything, and now it's gonna affect everything basically. So wings is getting like hotfix or something. I don't know. We'll see. Because also like here, basically it says they also removed wings from this this tree. It's now like what you have here instead, and here it says 15%, right? But I don't think this is super accurate, because here it's basically, if you go here, it says 20%, and also combined with all the other stuff, like you can read here, call upon the light to become blah, 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 blah. This is basically like when you judgment something, you get an extra holy power. When you spend holy power, you're gonna explode around you, dealing additional damage around you to the mobs, etc., etc. But the thing is, like, I think this is like some sort of like error or something from the website. Maybe we'll see, because this is like Retripala stuff, but it is in Holy. So I don't know. We will have to wait like at least a week or something to see what the fuck is going on there. Here it also says that wings is gonna be 20% in the blue post. I'm gonna try to find it here. Where was it? Basically here it says 20%, right? Here, they're making it 20%. Let me see. Yeah, here they're making it 20%, and then also here they're saying 20%, but on the PTR it still says 15%. But on the notes, on the data mine notes, and on the in the blue post, they're basically buffing this by additional 5% in crit and damage. Okay, so it's at least getting a 5% buff in crit and damage. And then you have to think about, okay, it's not only when I wings, right? It's not only when I press wings. It's also when I proc awakened. Also, additionally, we have a lot of damage already inside wings and healing because of how the hero talents work, right? Well, basically both of them are played around wings. Let me try to see where it was, man. Because I actually checked this before. It's just a lot of text. We'll go through it as well. Maybe it's in talent section. Here it says Avenging Rat now increases critical strike chance by default. Okay, we might get back to it in a bit when I'm gonna read step by step this. Okay, let's see. Okay, they're also buffing Truths Prevail. I think this is like a more PvP thing, right? The Fear No Evil. This is basically Lightsmith. This is not Herald of the Sun. This is Lightsmith. This is also like additional slow and stuff. This is more of a PvP talent. Also, maybe if you play Lightsmith and play the first boss in Mist, you're now a resto shaman and can reduce the fear, but a little bit useless. Truths Prevail being buffed by additional 30%. I still think, and I'm still convinced that this talent is not worth a talent point in M+. Maybe it's decent in raid. I don't know. That's like it's probably like okay when it comes to like you wanna like just I don't know like heal a little bit with a judgment which is inside your kit and you're doing it anyways. But I wouldn't, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't take Truths Prevail over an additional CD like Tears, for example. I think Tears is strong because usually healing is about healing damage events. And damage events is something that's going to wipe you, not just a little bit of healing to top the group a little bit, you know? That is most likely not going to wipe you. What is going to wipe you is what I said, it's damage, like hard damage events that is going on. Let's say a lot of ticking damage that you have to heal in a shorter period of time when you have defensives or don't. And also like 2 shots or 3 shots, right? Like second add in Arakara in like a 12. 2 ticks of that and you die. 3 ticks you're for sure dead. And casting a judgment during that is just gonna kill you, right? With Truths Prevail. But if you have Tears running and you pre-cast a Holy Light, let's say, then that Holy Light will be extremely stronger. Also, not to keep in consideration like that you're just in the background getting these hot heals that is helping what you're already healing. Then we have some protection changes here as well. This actually is also pretty important to think about when, if we're going to think like, oh, is Holy Paladin going to be meta? Is Holy Paladin going to be the second or the strongest or the third strongest healer or something like that, right? Because if, let's say, Protection Paladin becomes like the big next insane tank, then, you know, you're most likely not going to play Holy Paladin with that. But I'm pretty convinced that a lot of classes are going to be very, very viable, which they are right now as well. There, it's gonna be way more versatility going on in next patch as well. We have some red changes. Let's see. Well, basically this is lightsmith stuff. And also this is like a spirit link, I guess, for Holy Paladin. If you put armaments on someone and like basically you can have several ones out, right? These people will direct health into each other every second for 4 seconds. That is, you know, like a spirit link, I guess. Somewhat like a mini spirit link. It's pretty cool, I guess, but I still don't think you play Lightsmith because I was testing it out a little bit and I feel like the healing is a little bit off. It feels a little clunky to play. And to truly min-max it, I don't know. We'll see more about it, but I'm fairly convinced that Dawnlight playstyle is better, like Herald's Son. Okay, let's see here. So Hammer of Justice is also getting a buff, which is it's getting reduced in cooldown by 15 seconds. So it's now 45 seconds cooldown, Hammer of Justice. Also additional to this, which they don't really state here, is that I was checking this, right? And Fist of Justice is usually a talent that it's a 2-pointer, and it reduces the cooldown of Hammer of Justice right now with 1 second for each holy power spent, like each holy power spent, yes, I think. And then you can click it again and it's going to be 2 second reduced on the cooldown, right? But now they're just reducing it to 45 second cooldown. And then also if you want to take this talent, let's say you don't go 1 point here, you can go additionally in the Fist of Justice and make your Hammer of Justice now 30 second cooldown, which is kind of cool. But I don't think that you will go for this every dungeon. I think that it's very situational. Some dungeons where you don't need some specific thing. Let's say you kind of don't need that much healing or something like that, or maybe you don't need like whatever, right? So like maybe you don't need that much damage, and you go for more utility, and you go for the Fist of Justice. But all in all, this is like a buff, right? 45 second cooldown instead of 1 minute. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know really why they are doing this. Let me see. It seems like for red, they are buffing it like this, and that's it. And for holy and prot, they are buffing it the same as in red, but also additionally buffing some other thing here. And they're also additionally reducing its cooldown by 1 second, like to basically 11 second recharge by default instead of 12. And we'll get back to this. This is basically because they are, let's see, you see here, if you're a true Holy Paladin main, you will see that something is missing from down below here. If you're a true Holy Paladin Shad, you'll see that something is missing. That is alacrity, which is a talent that was a 2-pointer and gave us 4% haste and also reduced the judgment by 1 second. They basically removed that. So they're like giving us this cooldown change to 11 seconds. So they're basically giving that talent in a buff instead, reducing it. Some righteousness buff. This one was a little bit of a question mark because horse is basically, I don't know, wasn't it 2-second increase duration before as well? I don't know, but okay, I understand. So basically, here it says 5 seconds, right? Because if I pony right now, it's going to be 5 seconds. And this is super nice, by the way. But here it says 3 seconds. So some things here are updated, some things there are not updated, and etc. etc. So I'll get back to all of this also later on, like in a week or so, and see what they have updated. But this is obviously a buff. 2-second more duration is really, 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 really good. Especially also for raid. Raid is like usually a bigger environment that you're playing on. Let's say a good example was on Firak, for an example. Having a longer steed duration was insanely good if you had to go out with the swirlies, right? And place them on the outer edges. And then you could, you know, have a little bit of pony left in order to go back into the group, right? So this is very good. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this is now the talents, and we could check them out here in the blue post. And it's basically going to be, first of all, when it casts a blessing on someone, it's going to be healed. The person is going to be healed, and also after the blessing, right? And it's going to be, it's somewhere around here. It's Holy Ritual. Allies healed whenever you're blessing them or when the blessing ends. So if I would freedom myself, I don't know why my keybinds don't 100% work here, but wait, do I even have it? Okay, so basically, when if I would bop myself or freedom myself or freedom someone or bop someone, they would be healed for 100% of my spell power. And also, if I blessing of sack someone, right? If I sack someone, they will be healed, and after the sack, they will also be healed. So that's a pretty cool thing. I don't know if we will be playing with that though. We'll see. But it's obviously a nice thing. If we have the talent points for it, it's obviously a buff. New talents, were to sacrifice, you automatically cast Blessing of Sacrifice onto allies within 40 yards, blah, 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 blah. I don't even need to read this. I think this is a very, like, this is basically, the game will sack someone, like, your character is, like, you will just, if someone drops below 35% health, your character is gonna throw sack on them. And it's gonna put your sack on cooldown. No, like, yeah, I'm fairly convinced you will never play with this. But you will play with the other one, and I'll get back to it. Steed of Liberty, These will now cast Blessing of Freedom for 3 seconds. I don't know exactly what they are intending with this, because here it says, okay, let's just blast some points here so I can get them here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We do this. So basically, if I would take this now, the steed variant, which is Divine Steed now also grant Blessing of Freedom, right? So if I would do Divine Steed right now, I would have... Why the fuck is this? Wait, let me see. Can I edit this somewhat? Let's just put them down somewhere. Sorry. Okay, let's do this. So if I would Divine Steed my pony up, I would have freedom, right? There is a positive thing to this, and that is, well, you guessed it, you have double freedom. And for a boss like Ansarek, for example, you would have freedom for every single route, basically, right? If you do not have to pony anything else. So the first route comes, you would freedom yourself, right? And second route comes, you would freedom yourself because you have pony again, and then so on and so forth. But we will get to the other freedom variant, and here in the blue post, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, here it will say that you like holy paladins, basically red paladins and prot paladins can on this day they can cast freedom on someone in the group or in the raid, and also gain the benefit of freedom themselves, right? We all know this, but holy paladins don't have this luxury. And actually many people don't know about that don't play holy paladin. Because a lot of people are telling me like, why don't you freedom me? Like, I'm like, dude, I only have one freedom. Like, I can only freedom myself. And they were thinking that it's also, what's going on? They were thinking that also like it's like when red do it or when prot do it, it's the same thing, right? But it's not. Let me see if we can get back in here. But now I think it's somewhere here. I think that they're giving Holy Paladin also the luxury of freedoming someone, and also getting the freedom themselves. We'll see. Melee and range attackers, this eye for an eye. Whenever you wall, whenever you're defensive. Divine Shield, I mean, the attackers will basically get like damaged. Basically, it will be like a Thorns effect, right? But I do think that this talent is solely for protection paladin. I don't think we will ever take this as a holy paladin, most likely. Stoicism. Why does this sound so much like Baldur's Gate? Something that would be in Baldur's Gate. Okay, the duration of stun effects on you is reduced by 20%. Once again, this is more of a PvP thing, I guess. Wrench Evil. Turn Evil's cost is reduced by 10%. This is a new talent. We can see it over here. So basically now, Turn Evil is like a little bit of a special ability. It has its own special little thing here. You could go into Turn Evil, and then you have different nodes here, 2 options. Turn Evil's cost is reduced by 100%. This would be extremely valuable or pretty good if there was still like Incorporeal, which was in Dragonflight, but that no longer is the case. So, but also, honestly, like in Necrotic Wake, it could still be pretty good. because in Necrotic Wake, you have to like wait for the mage to appear, and you have to kind of look where the mage is so you don't turn evil it on the right side of the entrance, because if you do turn evil it off the right side of the entrance, the mage in Necrotic Wake will, or has a very high chance of fleeing out of the whole area and resetting the boss. That happened to me. So I learned that I want to turn evil only the left side of the boss, looking at the boss from the way you come from like the first boss area. So like up on, like if you're looking up on the platform where you're gonna take the eagles and fly up, right? Or the angels. But I do think that this stand against evil is a little bit cooler, because now turn evil also is a mass effect, and it affects additional 5 enemies, so I guess 6 enemies. It's pretty cool. Also standing here. Blessing of sacrifice, not okay. This talent, I think, is one of the things that will make Holy Paladins really, really strong as well. This is one of the talents as well, combined with Selfless Healer. This alone, with Selfless Healer, is like a big, big thing. This is probably top 5 strongest, top 3 strongest talents that we're gonna get. This is extremely strong. So whenever you blessing of whenever you sacrifice someone, it will remove poisons, remove diseases, and also make them immune to all poisons and all diseases throughout the whole sack duration. This is crazy strong. This is insanely strong. Imagine now if they put like magic effect also there. I think it would be way too overpowered if they did that. But this alone, an immunity to poison and disease when you sack someone, is extremely strong. Combined with the fact that Blessing of Sacrifice is now once again a 1-minute cooldown, which makes this even stronger, and this makes that even stronger. So it's like a double dip effect. This will basically reduce his cooldown of... This talent will reduce the cooldown of Blind Light and Rep. I don't think you will take this like super often. It's very situational. Then we have this Sacred Strength. And this is a choice node with something else. Let's see. And it's gonna be... It's somewhere here. Let me see. I think this was a choice node with something. If I'm not mistaken. Where was it? Why am I getting DC'd from PTR? Oh, okay. It's choice node with divine purpose. I'm sorry. So, okay. Holy, like Sacred Strength, Holy Power spending abilities are 2% more effective. Choice node with divine purpose. I don't think you will take this option, because in my opinion, divine purpose is too strong of a talent. I really, really, really like it. You should track it and you should play around it. I don't think 2% more effective is compensating for how good the divine purpose is. And it's over here. So you have 2 options. Make basically Vogue, Wall of Glory, or Shield of Righteousness 2% more stronger, or have divine purpose. I would personally take divine purpose every time, most likely. Okay, let's see. So we have Divine Steed's cooldown is reduced by 20%, but its duration is reduced by 40%. I don't know what I feel about this talent, to be honest. So they are buffing. So let's think about it mathematically. They are buffing Divine Steed by 2 seconds. So it was what the fuck's going on? Okay. It was 3 seconds. It's now 5 seconds. That is a bigger increase than 40%, right? So all in all, this talent would be a gain, I guess. Like mathematically, it's a gain. Because 100% of 3 seconds would be 6 second duration, right? And now it's 5 second duration. So basically it's a gain on what, like around 80%. So if we would reduce it with this talent by 40%, then we would lose 50% ish from the original buff that we're getting on Divine Steed, right? And additionally reduce its cooldown by 20%. So yes, this is a buff. If you would take this, it would be an increase, but is it worth a talent point? We will have to see. New talent, a reward, a just reward. After cleansing successfully removes an effect from an ally, they are healed. Okay, so basically when you dispel someone, they're also now healed. I think this effect was 100% spell power or 110% spell power or 120% spell power, something like that. We can see a little bit here. Oh my god, where was it? Dude, why didn't they make it the same order? Or did they? Maybe they did. I just scrolled away from it, maybe. Right. Okay, they did. No, they didn't. It was all the way up. Okay, yeah, okay. So after dispelling someone, they will now be healed. It's pretty handy, honestly. And it's 125% of spell power. So basically, you dispel someone, they get healed, right? Where is this useful? Well, in most situations, actually. In Arakara, there is a lot of poisons in the start, which, I mean, these poisons are extremely deadly. They are ticking for a lot, also combined with a bolt or AoE or some little rats charging you. Well, it's gonna add up, obviously. And I'm pretty sure this poison specifically is ticking very quick, if not insta, like application damage. Even though the spell is a global cooldown, and in most situations, when you dispel someone as a healer, they are going to take a hit, at least 1 or 2 ticks, if you do not like save a global and ready to like pre-dispel like on the application dispel someone, right? Which is very situational, and sometimes you have the global for it, sometimes you don't have the global for it. And this talent basically will, it's obviously a buff. We can all agree to that. But is it worth a talent point? We'll get back to it and we'll see. But all in all, I think this change is a good change. Basically, if you think about it, it's like in hectic situations, this tick of debuff, this poison or whatever it is, when you dispel it, it has most likely already ticked once or twice on the guy or the player. And now with this talent, when you dispel, you will basically save, let's say, maybe you don't have to holy shock the guy, you know? Maybe you don't have to holy shock the player. Maybe you save half a holy shock. Maybe if you dispel 2 times like this and this talent healed 2 times, that is equal to 1 holy shock. And if you do this 10 times in a dungeon or 20 times in a dungeon, then you have saved 5 or 10 holy shocks on the group, because this talent healed equal to the amount of the holy shocks that you were not needing to do, and those holy shocks could go into damage instead, right? That is basically the logic of this and why it's good, right? From a healer's perspective. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Okay. Where were we now? So, Empyrean Ward. Lay on hands grants the target 100% increased armor for 30 seconds and now ignores healing reduction effects. I think this talent is really, really good. This is really, really good. Not only, I mean, it's mostly good for tanks. Then also, it is going to be, in some situations, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be an extra defensive. Let's say there's a one-shot mechanic that is physical damage. You can now pre-lay someone, let's say a DPSer, let's say it's a red paladin that doesn't have a defensive, high amount of armor. You would now lay that guy, and maybe he lives the one-shot mechanic that is going on because he has increased 100% armor. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe even yourself. And combined with the other talent, this, you could lay yourself. I mean, then you bow it now. But this is all around a really good thing. Also ignores healing reduction effects, which is extremely good. Why didn't we have this back in when necrotic stacks were a thing? But this is really, really good. Really, really good. Also on first boss in the raid, you know, you can pad a little bit on the tank, I guess. But a really good talent overall, a really, really nice buff to lay on hands. Lightbearer. This talent is a little weird. It's a little bit unique. It's probably gonna be better in raid, but also if you have like a Shadow Priest, vampiric healing from damaging, and that healing goes into you, basically 10% of that healing will also cleave into all the allies around you. Also same goes if you have like a shaman, and a shaman doing AG and healing you with AG, that AG healing is going to cleave from you into the rest of the group. Then we have the selfless healer, which is what we talked about before as well. Really, really insanely big buff. This is gonna really increase Holy Paladin's output by a lot. This is a pretty nice thing for when we defensive. But like I said, I would have liked them to increase our defensive by additionally 10%. I think that every defensive in the game should be at least 30% DR. You could argue that Holy Paladin has bubble. That's why it has such a weak defensive. Like the actual wall, this divine protection. But realistically, in like high keys or super high keys, Holy Paladin is like they kind of need that defensive, the stronger one. But this at least will help us in ticking situations, most likely. Mostly in ticking situations where we're taking like rot damage, right? So when we take rot damage, this is gonna help us a lot. 15% increased healing. Down to you. But we'll get back to the defensive buffs for Holy Paladin. And it's gonna be sanctified plates. We're gonna get back to that, or get onto that after this. Where are we? Okay, here. So basically this is also a new talent. Your forbearance duration is reduced by 10 seconds. It's over here somewhere. Where is it? Wait, what? Where was it? I'm pretty sure I didn't click it in. Maybe I did. Wait, what? Let me see. Oh, it was there. What? Did I just miss it completely? Okay. And it's over here. So what's nice about this also, I think, is that we'll most likely not use this. If we're using anything, it's going to be, let me see. I'm just taking this away from now, for now. It's going to be this, and that's light revocation. So basically these work almost the same way, but this is like, you can bubble, basically, even if you have forbearance. And this is just the forbearance duration is reduced by 10 seconds, right? So I would probably almost always take this instead. That you can just bubble whenever and don't care about forbearance, because I've actually died to this. Like, I don't know, for an example, when you're in a really stressful situation and you're like, you know, someone is about to die and you lay him, and he dies exactly on your lay, and your lay will go on you. And then you might not notice this, and then one-shot mechanic is happening, and you only have bubble left, and you're like bubbling, and you die, and you're like, what? How did I die? I pressed bubble. I'm pretty sure I pressed bubble. And then you watch the VOD, and you're like, oh, I had forbearance. Okay, well, this talent now will fix that. Okay. Let me see. And now we have this talent as well, which is basically this talent that I just talked about, Light's Revocation. And what it's going to do is that it's, if you have like debuffs on you and you're about to die, then you bubble and you're like 10% HP, let's say. This bubble will now heal you, so you don't have to waste globals into healing you as well. And also you can use it while forbearance is on. Usually, I think one of the few situations where I had to bubble and also felt really behind on healing on myself, like aka not being able to top myself up in time before the bubble duration has ended and still taking damage, is probably on Yalnu in a really high Yalnu key, like a 30-31 Yalnu. Or I think it was 30. In Season 3 Dragonflight. That is like one of the few situations where I felt like I can't top myself during this damage before my bubble is ending in order to be healthy in for the next damage event, so to say. If the ad like lived for way too long, basically. So it's very, 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 very unique that you have to like get this first benefit of the talent here. But the second part is extremely beneficial. But obviously the first part is also pretty good. So here we have blessing, blessed calling. All allies affected by blessings have 15% movement speed. I think this is a little bit like almost whatever talent. Almost whatever talent. It's basically Red Palace already have this. Red Palace give, I think, freedom. When they give freedom to someone, they already get 30% movement speed. When a Holy Paladin gives freedom to you, you get 15% movement speed, and it's because of Echoed Blessings. So now they additionally gave us another 15% moment speed on someone that we give like a blessing to, but not only freedom, but also like if I pop someone or if I sack someone or if I freedom someone, they will additionally get 15% moment speed. Which is pretty nice, I guess, but will it be worth a point over other points? I don't think so. Very situational. Leader Charge. I think this talent is pretty cool, but I don't know if it will be picked there as well, honestly, because we have basically why I say I don't know if it's gonna be picked is because we have so much good shit that I wanna pick instead. Okay, like I think Vengeful Rat, like us having a fucking execute now as a healer, is really cool, right? Like basically Vengeful Rat on the first boss in Mist is really cool, no? So basically we will start one-shotting Mist boss with Hammer of Rats. Like the first boss. But this is pretty cool. It introduces 4 nearby allies, major movement abilities by 3 seconds. Your movement speed is also increased generally, like by default, by 3%. So 3% speed. This is pretty nice, I guess. But will it be worth a point? We'll see. This one, the radius of your auras is increased by 20 yards. I don't know. I don't know. Does this affect the aura mastery? How long? I think aura mastery, I don't feel like it's that long. Doesn't really say. If it's only these auras here and not when I press aura mastery, then I don't think you ever want to pick this. Honestly. I don't know what they're thinking with this talent, honestly. What's the purpose of it? I mean, maybe in a raid where you're like on the opposite side of the room and you want to reach someone with Dev Aura or something. But surely, like, I don't know, if a player is like over there, let's say this Watcher Lorin or whatever the fuck, if he's like a player and I had to go here and actually in Mist Last Boss, I can feel this being an issue. So in Mist Last Boss, everyone has felt that people are splitting way too long from each other, like they're way too apart from each other, right? In a pug, for example, the boss is like in the middle. I'm here. I'm hitting the boss because he's so fucking big. and there's shit everywhere. And the little mage, obviously, every time it's a mage, is over there chilling because it's like, oh, I have 5 million defensive and I'm not gonna die, but he doesn't press anything ever. And like, I'm over here. And then what if the AoE comes and I Aura Mastery right now and he's over there and he doesn't get hit? Then obviously this talent might be useful, right? But I wouldn't personally pick this talent for that purpose. Like for this very specific scenario, right? Usually everyone is like in range of you. So Face of Justice, now we talked about this. They're reducing Hammer of Justice by so it's now 45-second cooldown instead of a 1-minute cooldown. And you can reduce it even further by 15 seconds. And it's the talent node here. And it will make Hammer of Justice a 30-second cooldown instead of 45, which is okay, I guess. But in most scenarios, it's gonna DR. So I think 45-second cooldown on it that they already buffed. Like they gave us a buff over there, I talked about it before. It's enough. It's a good buff. You don't have to take this talent. It's very, very, very situational. I'll say in Halls of Fusion on the first mobs where they laser you and you basically got hammered down by them, in Season 2, during a flight at least, these mobs on 31 hulls were literally two-shotting people, and they ticked like every second in the duration of 4 seconds or something like that. It was very, very dangerous mobs. And on those mobs, I usually took Hammer of Justice CDR. Or in... I was taking it also... I mean, it's very situational. In some dungeons where you don't need maybe some other talent, you take that. But usually you're not going to take that. It's situational also. So this is a little wonky. I don't know exactly, because this says one thing, this says one thing, and then on the PTR it says another thing. It's with the wings, so we will have to get back on the wings topic later on. Basically, it's the Sanctified Rats, Awakened, and also wings. But on the blue nodes, it says wings is gonna get increased to 20%. On the Datamined version of these, this Datamined version, it says that we're gonna get wings buffed by 5% crit, 5% healing damage. But here on the PTR, it hasn't still updated, or this is the version and that other thing is false. We will have to see. I really want to get back on the wings topic, because if you go into the talent tree here on the Datamined, like on the PTR talent calculator, we see here that wings is getting all these benefits that we didn't have before. And also we see here that increasing your damage, healing, and critical strike by 20% for 20 seconds. Also, wings is removed here, which it is also here, right? So we're saving a talent point here also. That's also one thing. And but here it's still 15%, so we'll have to get back on this. But it does say increase your duration of Avenging Wrath, etc., which it also says here for this specific thing at least. We'll have to see if they're updating on that. Concentration ground is now class 23, yeah. No increases, yeah, sure. Passive. Judgment increased by 10%. Judgment cooldowns reduced by 1 second. We saw that here as well. We saw this as well. Critical strike by default. Okay, so this here is what I talked about. This is what I was also a little bit unsure about, because it says like different things. Here on the blue pulse, it says Unbound Freedom now additionally targets a nearby ally by default if cast Blessing of Freedom on yourself. So if I feed on myself, which I don't have right now because I spec into this. So if I take Blessing of Freedom, but it's weird. Where is this Unbound Freedom? Should be here, no? Unbound. Hello? Hello? Freedom. So here on the PTR, we see that this Unbound Freedom is not here. What? It could also be a thing that comes later on, or it's not Holy Paladin related maybe. But it seems weird because they have stated on everything else if it's Holy or Ret or Prot related. Could go into Prot, I guess, and check this. Because Prot Pala didn't have this. They had like if they freed on someone else, they would get the freedom. This specifically says if you freedom yourself, someone else will get the freedom. So it's like reversed, basically. Maybe here, like they have like fixed it or something. Let me see. It's maybe Unbound. Oh, it was here. Unbound Freedom. Yeah, exactly. But this, they already had this. They already had this version. Like Prot Pala and Red Pala already had this version. Blessing of Freedom increases movement speed by 30%. And you gain Blessing of Freedom when cast on a friendly target. Now, if we go into this one, Unbound Freedom now additionally targets a nearby ally by default if you cast Freedom, Blessing of Freedom on yourself. So it's not the same description as what this says for Prot and Red. So they might change it and give it to Holy Paladin. We'll see as a node, like as an option, because or they're changing how Prot and Red works, or the third option is that this is a typo. So we have three options. This is a typo. They haven't really implemented it in the PTR yet. Or they're changing how it works for Prot and Red. So we don't actually 100% know. We will have to see about that one as well. But it looks here, logically for me, when I read this, and when I see on the PTR that it's the same as before with Prot and Red, that when they freedom someone, they get freedom. Here it says, when you freedom yourself, someone else will get freedom. So we'll see what they do with that. Because when I type Unbound Freedom for Holy, it's not here yet. So maybe they like here with the freedom thing, maybe they like implement that or something. Not sure. We'll see about that one. It's the same with the wings. I think this and wings are a little bit wonky. Let's see. Lightford Blessing. Now heals. Okay, this one, I think this one is like one of the big buffs. You might think, Tempo, you're fucking crazy, but I sincerely think this is one of the big buffs. Why? Let's do the numbers a bit on this. And I'm gonna compare it also with where is it? What the fuck is this? Okay. We're gonna compare it to where is that little resto druid? So we're gonna compare it to this new talent that resto druids are gonna get. So Lightforce Blessing now heals 3% of maximum health for all specializations. Was 1% for Holy Paladin, you never ever fucking picked that. And 2% for Proton Red. Sometimes they actually pick this. Little did you know, 2% is actually a lot more than 1%. It is 100% more. So 3% is 300% more. Okay, let's see. Here it is. Shield of Righteousness heals you and 2 nearby allies for 3% of maximum health. You would think, oh, well, 3%? What the fuck is that? 3% is nothing. Yes, 3% would be nothing if it would say 3% of damage dealt. That would be fucking ridiculous. That you never take that. But 3% of max HP? Just so you understand how much that is. Holy Shock is healing without its target being low HP. It's healing for a bit, like around 200, 300k, right? And that's not a crit. Now, if I would Righteous right now, let's say I Righteous. Let's say I Righteous now, I put down my Consecration, which, okay, we will actually not do that anymore, but we will still Consecration, but it's not going to be a benefit. I'm going to talk about it. So I'm like doing Righteousness, boom, and I'm damaging the mobs, right? Now, people are going to get 3% healed for their max HP. And in War Within, we actually don't have this amount of HP, right? I'm level 70 and I have Dragonflight gear right now on the PTR. We have like how much? We have, let's say, I mean, it depends from class and it depends if you're a tank also, etc., etc. Let's say you have 6 million, right? Let's say I have 7 million, right? This Righteousness is gonna heal for 200k-ish, around that. Around 200k. Will it crit? Will it not crit? Every time I Righteousness, it's gonna heal the group for almost 1 million. Right? Also, if it crits, it's gonna heal for more. And also, we're gonna get more gear, it's gonna heal for more. Right? Every time I Righteousness, now the group is healed for like 1 million. That is basically me voguing someone. Or almost the same as a vogue, right? Vogue is stronger, but almost the same as a vogue. What will this additionally do? Yes, it will save us what? A lot of globals. We do not have to heal as much during, like, when we're damaging, right? So that means we're gonna damage, and we're gonna fucking Righteousness all the time. And the group is just gonna get healed, and we do not have to heal them as much, which means that we will do even more damage. Because the damage that we're doing already is going to heal the group, which means we don't have to heal the group that much, which means we can keep on doing more damage. Right? So all in all, this is a really nice buff. And this is a really nice thing. And I'm fairly convinced you will always take this talent. It's gonna be pretty nice for bosses. But on bosses, depending on which boss it is and how much damage you're taking, obviously you're not gonna press this when you're all turbo dying. You're gonna be pressing this when it's like medium damage or low damage. Medium to low damage, you're going to press Shield of the Righteousness, and this is gonna improve the smoothness and the all-around good feel of playing healer and playing Holy Paladin. It's actually pretty strong. And now I would like to compare this to, where was it now? Oh god. Here. So, Resto Druid is getting a thing here, which they will heal for 50% of the rat damage, shred, and it's gonna transfer the damage to healing basically. But it's gonna transfer into a nearby ally. So it's one person, right? And this effect is increased by 200% while Heart of the Wild is active. So which is strongest? That or spamming Righteousness and healing for basically 9% of max health in value? The numbers we will have to see, because obviously I don't know exactly how much a rat is doing. I don't know how much a shred is doing. But I think that Resto Druid has pretty good dam right now, so this will be pretty hefty as well. So we will have to compare this and see also how strong this is compared to that. But this is really, really good. Really strong talent. Because they buffed it by from 1% to 3%. And 3% max health is a lot. Because why I say it's a lot is because you actually righteousness a lot, right? It's not like you have a righteousness every minute. Like when you damage, you're fucking spamming righteousness. You're like righteousness, 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 you know? You get divine purpose proc, you righteousness. You get another proc, you righteousness. You fucking divine toll, you righteousness. You do another holy shock, righteousness. You know? You're just spamming those righteousness. And your whole group is just full HP all the time during a pack, right? It's really, really good. So I really love that they buffed this. People are saying, "Oh, I want to play with melee wings, guys." Yeah, well, it's basically the same thing, right? You damage and you heal from your damage. Dusk and Dawn increased for Proton Red by 10%, and for Holy Paladins 5%. This is also a big question mark. All around it's a buff, obviously, but it's a big question mark. Also, it's not a buff only but with the 5%. It's also a buff with what I said before, that you had a 2-pointer here to come into this node, but now it's just a 1 point, and basically you can spend that 1 point into putting it somewhere else, right? And gain benefit and gain power from that additional point which you now save. But this is a little wonky because it was 5% and because here it says 30%. If you look at this, it says 30%. Here it says buff by 5%. How much was it? It's a little bit weird. Because here it's also here it's 30%. It's 10%. So you see, I don't actually remember how much it is like in War Within right now, but it did get nerfed. It did get nerfed from Dragonflight, but was it actually 5%? Here it said 15%. second. Like here on Blessing of Dawn, you see, it says 15%. So this is also something we will have to check out a little bit via time. What's up? How much they're actually fixing this with. But yeah, that's pretty nice. There's also another buff. They changed the icon of Divine Toll. It's like kinda cool, I guess. It's like a little bit goldy. Guess it's cool. So these are 1-pointers now. We talked about this. Zealot's Paragon would be extremely cool if we had it as a Holy Paladin, but we don't. I'm pretty sure the Zealot Paragon is a prot talent, which extends the duration of wings, basically, I'm pretty sure. But we do not have that. That would be pretty cool, actually. They put it on Holy Paladin as well. It would also, I guess, increase the, like, higher the seal, like the skill ceiling of playing Holy Paladin. Would be kind of cool indeed. And then they have, we talked about this as well, they are basically giving Lightsmith a Spirit Link, basically. When you armament someone, it's gonna be a Spirit Link, like a mini Spirit Link, I guess. But I'm fairly convinced we're not gonna play Lightsmith. Maybe. Even though I think Dawnlight application, I'm pretty sure Dawnlight application is bugged. Even though it's bugged, we're pretty strong. So if they fix it, we're gonna be even stronger. So like, if a mob is here, like let's say I'm here, right? And this is a mob, this is a mob. And I wanna apply Dawnlight on this guy, right? And I do so with Shield of Righteousness, right? So if I want to do it on this guy and not on this guy, because this guy is like 20% HP and this guy is like 50% HP, let's say, I would want to apply Dawnlight for damage on this guy, right? Because this guy is 20%. He's gonna die before the Dawnlight has done its job, right? It's a dot. So I go here and I hammer up, I Shield of Righteousness this guy. And from nowhere, this guy is getting the fucking dot. And this doesn't happen all the time, but it happens sometimes. And they really need to fix this, because it's reducing our damage by a lot, actually. This is not good. Dawnlight application on friendly targets is fine, obviously, because you do it when you evoke someone, you apply Dawnlight on the guy, right? And also the fact that when we apply, when we pop wings with our awakening, 4 Dawnlights are not being applied. Like, we're not getting the lights. We're only getting 1 light. We should get 4 lights. But when you wings, usually you get 4 lights. And here's just Vogue increased by 5%, Righteous another 10%. And they're removing Strength of Conviction, which was a talent down here. It was here, I think. It's basically whenever you consecration, then now while inside your consecration, Your Word of Glories and Shield of Righteousness are now 10% stronger. It was, I think, 20% in Dragonflight. Then they reduced it to 10%. And now they have removed it completely and just buffed the spells. I don't know why they're doing this, because you always want to put down your consecration anyways. I guess if you consecration and then walk like here and then righteousness, sure, it's gonna be a damage and heal increase, obviously, if they just put more power into the spells itself and not so much rely on consecration to always be under it, right? But consecration with a good amount of haste is very low cooldown, as you can see here. Even though it's not gone yet for a long time, I have had the consecration up like for a while, right? But yeah, they're removing that and putting more power into it. But this is also a little bit of a question mark, because they're powering up these abilities here. But we talked about it earlier also, that they are powering up the abilities even further. Or not even further / not even further. I don't know. Because here it's like, here it's an 8% increase. They're buffing 8%, 8%. You know, they're doing these buffs. Here it says like literally 8%, and then you go into here, it says like 5%, right? So I don't know what exactly, if like this is gonna be like, you know, oh, we're buffing this, and then in the background they're buffing more. I don't know. So that was basically all the Holy Paladin stuff, or most of it. It's pretty cool. We're getting a lot of good shit. A lot of good stuff. Now, what will we actually pick? I'm fairly sure that it's gonna be something like this. And now I'm talking M+, obviously. I'm fairly sure it's gonna be something like this. So we'll almost always take the improved lay on hands. It's gonna be extremely good for the tank. Extremely good. Also, the increased 100% armor effect is gonna be 30 seconds long. That is a lot. That is very long. Will we take the heal after dispelling? Situational, I guess. I mean, you could take some damage out and go there. You could take some, you could take even more damage and go for the bubble variant. And also in some dungeons where there is no disease or poison, or situations where you might need to sack the tank and the poison and diseases. Let's say there's a dungeon where you know I have to sack the tank a lot, or almost all the times sack the tank, and the disease and poisons only go into the group, then obviously this talent would not be something you take, and you could go more damage. Or if you play in raid, or if you play with like as a Holy Paladin, you play with a Shadow Priest, a Boomy, like someone that has off healing, like AG, Vampiric, etc. Right? You could go Lightbearer, and it's actually gonna be very valuable. But I'm fairly convinced it's something like this. We go something like this. Also, we forgot to talk about one extremely big buff that we're gonna get as Holy Paladins. One of the big buffs. And I don't even think they mentioned it here. They probably forgot. But it is on the PTR. It's not on the PTR yet. I wonder if they... Okay, maybe they reverted it. Let me see. Because it was here as well. I'm gonna show you. Did I miss it? It's the sanctified plates. Here we have the changes of the sanctified plates. And I'm wondering... Here it says that the seal of alacrity is removed. It's very weird. Because here, okay, I don't know. We'll see if they put it in here again. What they do with it. Because, okay, so here at least on the data mined version of Vovhead's post, you have sanctified plates, right? And it's a talent that gives us armor, stamina, and avoidance, basically. Reduce damage from AoE effects. And Retribution Paladin is getting basically the same effect, I think, as we used to do. Prot Paladin, like, Red Paladin is getting the least effect of this. Like, they're getting, let's see... Yeah, this is what I read as well. And this is what is here as well on this. On the PTR on Bobhead here, on the also 11.0.5, and also here. So here and here the information is correct and it matches. But maybe Vovhead is a little bit out of date, or they just haven't implemented it in the game yet. So we'll see about that. But basically, here's the notes that Red is getting the least, Prot is getting the medium, and Holy Paladin is getting the big. And we can see it here. Sanctified plates. For Prot Paladin, or maybe it was Prot getting the least. Least stamina at least, and Red getting a little bit more armor. Okay. So Prot getting 5% armor, 5% stamina, 3% avoidance. Red getting armor 10%, stamina 3%, and avoidance 3%. Holy Paladin is getting 20% armor, stamina increased by 10%, and damage taken from area effects by 6%. And this is a buff from War Within, from what we're used to. And Sanctified Plates used to be here. Under Wings, which they removed here from here and put it only here. So we're getting a point from that as well, saving a point. Also them like increasing power. Obviously 1 point saved is 1 point spent in gain. Let me see. So this is so weird. Let me see. I'm gonna log into... I'm gonna check in the game actually. So I'm pretty sure I checked this yesterday. Pretty sure it was above. If they're now implementing it. So let's have a quick look. Maybe like if they sent on the blue post, it's not gonna be changed, and the data mine version was like an early thing, and then they decided not to do it. Could also be a thing. It is a couple of weeks until this patch hits, so yeah, exactly. I'm not tripping. So sanctified plates in the version we're playing today is for Holy Paladin, armor increased by 12%, stamina by 6%, and basically avoidance by 3%, right? And here in the talent tree, which is the PTR version, we see that for Holy it's 20%, 20%, which is an 8% increase in armor, 10% stamina, which is a 4% increase in stamina, which is heavily needed, and maybe a compensation for not getting a buff on our defensive. And also a 6% avoidance, which we had 3%, which is 3% avoidance for free, which is also kind of needed. But we'll see if this is getting implemented or not. This is like that, the Unbound Freedom and Wings. We'll have to just see and wait what's going on with that. But if they do change this, like it says on the PTR calculator, then that is extremely, extremely good. A very, very good buff. Okay, that was like the Holy Paladin stuff. Now let's talk quick about the other healers. A little bit. Let's start with Resto Shaman. We can start with Resto Shaman. Resto Shaman is in a very good state right now in M+, where everyone wants to Resto Shaman. They have a pretty good healing profile for most of the fights. Healing Stream Totem makes it very nice to heal most situations. Also, Resto Shaman's biggest enemy back when I mained it in Shadowlands basically was that when you had to move, your group dies. Now, when you have to move on Resto Shaman, you have a lot more kits. You have Insta Healing Rain. You have Healing Rain with a Downper that is also Insta and the same button, so you save a keybind. You also have... you don't have what I wanted them to fix for Resto Shaman, and basically what I wanted them to fix for Resto Shaman is a lot lower cooldown on Spirit Walker's Grace or 2 stacks of Spirit Walker's Grace and shorter duration. I would rather take a Spirit Walker's Grace that's 7-second duration and 1 minute cooldown than a 2-minute cooldown and 15 seconds duration. That is at least my opinion when it comes to Resto Shaman. So, and also the healing stream totem, right, when you have to move and stuff. But Resto Shaman is really strong right now. I don't necessarily think that it's like having a lot more healing than Holy Paladin, for example. No. It has more damage when allowed to do damage. When not allowed to do damage, it has the same or even lower than Holy Paladin. Even on the move without Spirit Walker's Grace, Holy Paladin has more healing when the group has to move. Not during Spirit Walker's Grace, then it has probably more healing, but outside of Spirit Walker's Grace, it has less healing. If you don't like literally pop every single cooldown, like 3 fucking healing stream totems and healing rain, like healing rain, healing tide totem, I mean, and so forth. But it is very strong. Now it's getting a change, and that change is this talent right here. It's called Coalescing Water. Chain Heal's mana cost is reduced by 10%, and Chain Heal increases the initial healing of your next Riptide by 75%, stacking up to 2 times. This combined, this is a really good talent in my opinion, because it goes into the flow of how you do your rotation anyways. Let's say there's AoE incoming, you have already put down your stuff, your healing rain, like maybe pre-dumper, maybe dumper the first tick, maybe pre-chain heal into dumper, you know. But Tidebringer also has 2 stacks, and High Tide also has 2 stacks, right? So these combined are like, you have 2 stacks of chain heal on the procs, right? So you do chain heal into chain heal with preferably a Riptide before that, so you get increased as well. And then after those chain heals, basically you have empowered Riptides. So now, like after those chain heals, you Riptide, like maybe Riptide healing surge Riptide, you know, or something. Then your Riptides are like now empowered, and this is pretty strong for for Rest Shaman. I think this is a very good change. What you take instead of that, not too sure though. Maybe you take away the improved Earth Living weapon or something. But that is a change for Resto Shaman. And we can also see the change. I think it's here in the blue post as well. Yeah, exactly. So they have it here. They're getting a new talent. So that's like almost the only thing with Resto Shaman. I don't think there's much more. Let me see. No, exactly. That is like the big thing, basically. I don't think they're changing much with the priest as well. I think they're holding priest to kind of the same extent, the same way as it was. We can check Mistweaver a bit. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but basically they are removing Mistweaver's power from just having all of its power in ancient teachings, and like basically the single buff that you get from ancient teachings, and they are now splitting it. So they're making it baseline 30%, and then they're also additionally, when you do your Jade Fire Stomp or Thunder Focus T, you now get 140% damage and healing. You know, you now get like the 170% that you got, you now get it split ways. So you now have it base, and then when you do your Stomp or Thunder T, you now get the full 170%, so you have to like do your Stomp, basically, to get the full power. But you have like a base, so to say, 30%. This talent right here, I don't know exactly how strong it will be. We'll have to see. It sounds pretty good, to be honest, but yeah. And also you see how it's gonna be with... Where is it? Oh, here. So yeah, they have gotten a new talent, which basically, like, when you Thunder Focus T, your cracking Jade Lightning now is increased by 100% and also cleaves into 4 additional enemies. And this damage right here is also going to be going like having a synergy basically with ancient teachings. So you're gonna heal the group with this, which is pretty cool. How strong it will be, we will see. Because 1000% might seem like a lot, but this damage from cracking jade lightning, it's basically a wet noodle, right? You're throwing wet noodles at people. So 1000% of a wet noodle is maybe 1000 wet noodles, right? That might hurt. And they're giving some damage increases, which is also in itself a healing increase for Mistweaver, because obviously it does healing throughout the damage it does. So these are like the Mistweaver changes. Kind of cool. They also get a new like talent here, but I think you always want to go for the teaching, because these two share the node with each other. So it seems like kind of messed up to take this instead of like your biggest healing output, basically. So we'll see what they do about that. So I mean, I'm gonna talk healer stuff today, but like I think Hunter is getting some cool stuff, man. I think this Dark Ranger thing. What the fuck? I might make a like a Hunter alt just to have some fun, because this seems very fun. Dark Ranger is cool. I like that. This might seem very, very strange for those who played Evoker or Preservation, but this is actually not so strange if you go up all the way to the top and you see that they have not typed it here. Or am I strange in the head? No? Here. Okay, they typed it here. So they're basically increasing the... Yo, Hotwing, thank you so much for the sub, bro. I appreciate it. Welcome, bro. Thank you so much. They basically increase the cooldown of evokers to like stops, like the Typhoon and the Knock-Up. Basically, it's increased from 1.5 to 3 minutes, and they are reducing it instead of 45 seconds, which it was before. They are now reducing it by 2 minutes, so it's now a 2-minute CD, both of them, if you would spec into these two specs on Evoker. More than that, for Preservation, it's not really like any changes, I think. As we can see, they are pretty strong as they are. Also, like balance is getting a lot of changes, but once again, we're talking about like healing stuff, obviously, but like they're getting a lot of changes. Balance, yeah. I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad. I think I saw one talent here, Whirling Stars, is like Celestial Alignment's cooldown is reduced by 75 seconds, and it has 2 charges, but the duration is reduced by 40 seconds. I don't know, you will have to ask mechanics about this, basically. Okay. New talent. When restoration heals or time effects are removed by enemies, they are replaced with blah, 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 blah. So this is like PvP, no? Nature Swiftness has 2 charges. Okay. Okay. Abundance now also reduce the cost of growth by stack. So now your war school lines by 10 seconds. I don't know, dude. It was so long ago since I played Resto Druid, and I didn't really play it these seasons, but is this good? Let's see. I think the coolest thing about all of this is probably this one. That's probably the coolest thing. And this is basically when I loved Prayer Resto Druid, and that was like in Wall of Draenor. And I remember rat casting and healing people with rats. So basically, like pre-hot everything, hot up everything, and then just spam rats during your hots. Like everything is hotted, and then you just spam rats, and you maintain your hots, and then the rats would heal people also. which was like, I really love that playstyle. And rats back then did like pretty good damn. So I don't know. We'll see about this change, how it will be. That's basically it. It was a pretty long video, but I think we got most of it in here. And yeah, my Twitch, the link is down below.